Welcome back, CSE 235, to exercise 4D. This is part 2, and we kind of went over what we're going to do in part 1 and then took care of our picture. So I have my picture in here, and what I'm going to do first is actually disable this button after the function. So at the end of the function, after the function finishes, I mean not after the function definition, but within the function, after everything happens, we want to disable the button so it can't keep adding things to it. Now there may be other strategies we could use so that it doesn't rewrite things, but we're just going to disable the button. And one way to do that is just look up disable button JavaScript, add event listener, because that's the way we're using it. And I'll just look for W3 schools, HTML DOM button disabled property. There's a button disabled property. Look how easy that is. You just have the document get element by ID, whatever the button ID is, dot disabled equals true. So we're going to disable it at the end of the function. So we'll do that first, and we could do it right here after the loop. And all we have to do is just copy the same code that we have for our button that actually runs the function or calls the function, and just put it here before the end of the function. So it's part of the function, so when the function is done running, it's going to disable the button. And it's document.get element by ID. I could even highlight this and tab it in a little. Oh, it is tabbed in. It was just wrapping to the end here. And I'll move this over, and then maybe I'll open this in a new window. There it is. That's open in a new window. And then I won't worry about doing it over here. And instead of all this click, show movies and all that, that's already being done down here. What we could do is just put dot disabled equals true. So we'll just disable the button. Disabled is a property, just like length in innerHTML. Dot disabled equals true. And it's lowercase true because you should see it come up. If you try to type capital true, you shouldn't get any hints for it. I'm not getting any hints. I'm getting lowercase true. So if you're ever confused, is it capital true or lowercase? It's lowercase. So that should disable the button. So let's just try it out and make sure it's after the loop. So now if I refresh this and I do show movies, you can see it's grayed out. It's disabled. So I can't keep hitting that button. And there's not really a reason to keep hitting the button. So it's okay that it's disabled. You can always refresh the page. But we're going to put a picture here. So we're going to put that it clown there. And we'll just float it to the right of everything. And that's actually good that it's floating, because didn't the clown floats? It says everything floats down here, if anybody ever saw that. So it's going to float to the right. So we're going to float the clown to the right of this, the button, and the paragraph or the div that it's in. So what we can do first is go to our HTML. Now we're going to make a place for it. So we'll do it before the button because it's going to float to the right of everything that's after it. So we'll put something here. Instead of just putting the image, we're going to make an ID so we could put the image code in there. So our whole image URL, image source equals all that stuff, just like we did with Patrick. If you ever remember doing that one, we're going to put that inside an ID. So instead of just using a div, we could use figure. So I'll use figure, and I'll use an ID of pic. We'll make it really easy, and I'll hit tab. So this is where we're going to put our image. Now we don't have our image in here yet. Now one thing you could do, and this is just temporarily, just to get all that code, you can go image source, or you could just go image and do tab. I got a backspace now because I already did it. Image tab. Let me rewrite it now. Image tab. There we go. Image source equals. Now it's going to be itclown.jpg. Itclown, and it's coming right up. And we'll just put clown pic for the alt. And we could put an ID if we want. I don't know if we're going to use the image ID, but we could. We could put ID equals clown. I'm not sure if we're going to use the ID of that, or we'll use the ID of the pic. Probably of the pic, but if we need to target the image, then we have an ID for that. Nothing wrong with doing that. So we have the source, and we have that. So this is the code. We're not going to keep this here, because right now, if we run it, it's there. It's already there. And we don't want that there. We want it to show up. Actually, it probably looks better without the transition, but we'll do that. And actually, that size looks pretty good. So we're actually going to have it float to the right. But we're not going to have it show up until we hit the button. So we're going to do it in JavaScript. But we'll leave it there right now. Why? Why have it there right now? Well, that way it'll be easy to copy this and actually use this as inner HTML, and then we'll just have to put a single quote around it so that it doesn't conflict with all the quotes that are inside there. So we'll put a single quote around there, and then we'll just take it out of here, and this will be an empty figure element to actually put in our image, and we'll put that in there. So we'll target the pic ID, and then we'll put this inner HTML. This will be the inner HTML code that we'll put in there. We'll just put in quote. It'll act like text, but when we have the tags in there and it works on a page, it'll work like an HTML tag, and it'll show the image. And then we'll do the animation as well. So we could float this thing to start just to see what our page looks like and then move it out of there. So let's do that. Let's go to styles, and actually we could do figure and just do figure first. And we could do figure, and we'll put the ID in there, which is pic. We'll do figure pic, and because we're going to need it anyway when we do the animation. So we'll do figure pic, and we'll just start off and just put float right. Because if we float left, it's going to float it aside of all the other stuff. So we're just going to do float right for now. There's other ways to do this, but let's just do this. Now, that's going to move it to the far end of the page, and we could even just put like a margin right, like a % after it. So right now, if I refresh this, it's floating it to the right, but it's way over there. So we can put a % over here and kind of move it over a little bit. So we can put a margin right, and we may have to change the margin on the top as well, but we'll put margin right, and we'll put like 50% for now. And we'll refresh it, and that's okay. It's a little bit closer. We're going to have a list here. Now, keep in mind that once we do that, that's going to push our stuff over. So we don't want it too close, so maybe we'll just do 40. But again, that's just kind of estimating, and we have a place for it. So we now have a style for our figure ID pic. And remember, you don't have to have this. You can just have pic, but I like to put this here sometimes just to know where it is. And remember, it's not this. If you're thinking, well, can I do figure space pic? No, that would be an ID of pic inside of figure. That would make it a child. It's not a child, it's its name. So when it's its name, it's right after it like that. So it's figure # pic. So it's figure with the ID name of pic, not pic ID inside of figure. Just want to point that out. So this is all ready to go. And what we're going to do is try to write the picture to the page first and have it show up with the button. Now we already have the function with the button, so that should be easy. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll do the animation just to make it fade in. So let's go and add it to the page with JavaScript. So let's see what's going on with the JavaScript. I'll move this over. I don't need to look at this that much. Okay, so we already put this disabled true. So we'll keep the button being disabled after everything. So anything else we're going to put in here. So I'll move this down a little, give us some space in here. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to get that figure element, and we're going to put inner HTML in it. All right, so let's do that. Let's go over here. I'll tab over, and I'll even just copy this. Document get element by ID. Now, which element are we getting? We're getting pic. So we're going to get pic. It's actually this one, pic. And then we're going to use the inner HTML property to write in whatever that's going to be. And let's do this. Let's just call it clown pic, or even if we just want to call it image. Now, I'm putting a variable there. Why? Because I don't want to put an entire long URL in here. I actually, before we do this, we're going to set a variable that represents image, so they could just plug in there. So we're going to have to do that. So tab this over again, and actually this could go over here. This could be the same level as that. And then what I'm going to do here, now we have a variable. Now we didn't define any variable. So let's define a variable. Let's go here and let's say let image equal. Image is basically going to equal the URL. And then we're going to plug the URL in here, and then it's going to plug it in. And that's all going to happen when we hit the button. So let's get the URL. That's why we did this first. And that's the clown. We don't need that. Here's the URL. Now it's all right here. Now I'm going to cut it out of here. I don't want to keep it. I mean, you could even comment it out. You know, if you don't want to cut it, I could copy it. So copy it first, and then I'll just comment it out, and I'll go back to my JavaScript, and then I'm going to put a single quote first before I paste it, because now this whole thing will be surrounded by single quotes. Why single quotes? Because I already have double quotes in there, and you can't use all double quotes. So that way the HTML is surrounded by single quotes, and I still maintain all these double quotes in here. So single quotes outside, double quotes inside, finish it off, put a semicolon there just to finish it off so you have no problem. So image is basically going to represent, and it's image URL. You know, if you want to call it image URL, if that makes more sense, call it image URL. That way that makes more sense. So image URL represents this HTML that's going to get plugged in to the pic, the figure pic ID. So that's going to go here. You don't even need this. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this now. I have it copied and pasted. I don't need that. But we're going to put this in here, and I'll just move this just so it looks more clear. So this is where we're going to put that whole HTML thing that's really the image. So the image element's going to go in here. So let's see if this works, because I think we don't have a whole lot to do. We already disabled the button. We already have a button that works, and this is part of it. So what's going on here is just part of it. It should just be showing that image. So let's give it a try. Let's go up here. Let's refresh this. And let's try it out. And that looks pretty good. Let's refresh it. Try it out. And that's not bad. Now, what we're going to do next is we're just going to do an animation and just make it fade in. Now, that'll be under CSS animations. And we'll finish that up in part 3.